Hello and welcome in. I am Miss Kinghorn and we are back here in our Red Lane Zoo in Planet Zoo. So today we are adding in the Giant Anteater. I have to be honest, I didn't think they were going to be as big as they are. I don't know why, in my head I kind of had them maybe slightly bigger than an aardvark, but not as big as they actually are. I mean, they're huge. So yeah, that was a bit of a shock, but we're getting them in here, and for a point of reference, this is directly behind the speckled bear habitat that we did last time. If you have not seen that video, definitely go and check it out. I will put a card up in the top corner for you, so you can go and check that one out. And yeah, you can also check out the whole playlist here on my channel as well. That has absolutely everything from the entrance building and all the way through into there. But yes, we are continuing with the rock wall. So like what we did for the bears, we have this sort of moat that goes along the front. I didn't technically need it for these because they can't swim, or well, they don't swim in game, let's put it that way. And it didn't really need it, but I decided to put it in to kind of flow with the rest of it, and because I kind of create these little sort of round pods, I guess we can probably say. They're like maybe 2-3 habitats that are all kind of centered around some buildings in there that you can then see from different angles and different things like that, and sort of walk all the way around. Now this one you're not going to be able to walk all the way around with them, but you are going to be able to access sort of them from at least sort of 3 angles around into there. But yeah, so that's basically the dry moat all done. We're now working on the fences, again taken from the previous habitat. This is just a section of mulch and then a in-game fence built in with a plank of wood or a pole of wood from, I think it's the Indonesian piece that I use. Those textures on that one are gorgeous, and yeah, we place those over the top just to give it a little bit of a softer kind of feel. I kind of like creating these little kind of separated areas, so they're kind of, the habitats are kind of a little bit further away from the sort of guests, but the guests can still see quite a lot of them habitat in there. But we are slowly coming along with that, and obviously as usual I'm going to plant it all up and do everything like that with it. But yeah, now there is a slight issue when it came to the rockwork that you've seen. I wasn't able to hide, I guess it's probably the wrong word, some of the bigger rocks in there. They, for some weird reason, it just was not allowing me to kind of change the terrain once this is in, so I kind of had to make do, and you'll sort of see in the screenshots that that's all there. But I think we made the best of it in here, and as I said, because I was expecting them to be a little bit smaller, I didn't really have much of a concept of how much space they would need. And obviously these are, whilst not a base game animal, they have quite a big hitbox, and it proved challenging. So what you're actually seeing, bits of it did change, because I had to create other ways for them to be able to get through the habitat and things like that. So what you see at the end to what you have in the screenshots and the cinematic shots at the ending are slightly different, and that is solely because the animals are ginormous in there, and I did spend a good while trying to make the hide shelter actually accessible to them, because yeah, it really wasn't. And it's one of those things where I think it's trial and error, and I had real difficulty with it because obviously I'm pre-recording this because I'm actually currently away. So I tried to get as much done as I possibly could, which is why I want to do a smaller animal in here and a little bit more of a simpler, I think, animal, rather than doing like the bear we did last time and some of the animals that we have got coming up. This one I want to do something a little bit smaller, a little bit more simple. it didn't turn out that way. I think because I was a little bit unsure, it kind of, in theory, took longer than what it really should have done, which didn't really help. But, you know, I have managed to get the 2 recordings that I needed to be done, so they're all done. I'm currently doing the first of the 2 voiceovers, ready for me going away, and I get to spend some time away with family and things like that, which is always a nice little break from everything in there. But I will try to post some pictures and video and stuff up on my Instagram, so make sure you are following me over there. So yeah, you might see a few little bits and pieces as we go along on that, and maybe possibly definitely check it out. And yeah, using the rock walls along the back here to kind of create that sort of boundary that I really wanted along here, which basically these are the same pieces that we use pretty much throughout a lot of this, and we've used them throughout the whole sort of zoo, and in different areas, different ways, different shapes and things like that, just to kind of get them to sort of fit in here as well. And I do actually completely close all this up, and then I open it back up for when we are doing the hard shelter. You'll sort of see that at the end in there. But now we're on to the landscaping, in which you're going to see me have some really issues in here, because I can't place it any closer to the water's edge. I should really have done it before I put the water in, but I thought it would be alright. I've got these huge rocks in the way. No. No, of course not in there. So we do get in quite a few pieces of enrichment in here. So I think we get the forage box, we get a couple of feeders and things like that, just to kind of make the animals walk around sort of different areas of their habitat and access sort of different things, so you can kind of see them a little bit more in different spaces. But again, we kind of have these little sort of terraces up, so that the guests are looking sort of straight on or straight up at the animals, which I thought was a really nice little feature in here, and something I've tried to do pretty much throughout all of these habitats is kind of make them at least eye level with the sort of guests if possible in here. And yeah, trying to change all of this around, because we do have the termite sort of feeder enrichment item in here. Unfortunately, it's not flexicolour, so it doesn't quite match in with all of the rock work that I've done, which we're using basically the same rock colours, or at least it's kind of the temperate sort of grassland rocks, those sorts of colours that we are using. And that's because this zoo is based in North America. It's kind of based in maybe Florida, possibly Georgia area of sort of North America, and that's what really fitted in here, which we are using. Most of the planting and things like that are from that sort of area, so, or at least from the North America. I'm gonna say it's such a wide country that you have so many different biomes in there, but we are especially focusing on the tropic grasslands and temperate biomes of North America, and then obviously adding in some little hints from South America as and when we really need them in here. Now, throwing down all of these little rocks in here, I think it just makes the habitat look a lot better and a lot sort of more lived in. Now, the animals and the keepers were actually able to walk all over this, so that was a good thing, because I did wonder, and I think there's always that fear when you place these down that the animals can't walk over them, but luckily enough they managed to get round, and I think it was actually the bigger rocks that posed a bit more of an issue for them. So I had to change a few bits and pieces over there, and obviously these big rocks here, they couldn't actually get up and over them, so I've ended up having to sort of space those out a little bit more and kind of create a bit more of a step up, kind of more steps leading up, instead of just having sort of the 3 which I had placed down as it is at the moment. But they can use the forager box. They have used the football, so lots of things in here are accessible to them. The problem I think is this is like the furthest part of the zoo at the moment, so trying to get guests to kind of come and view them was quite difficult, and I spent ages sitting here waiting. And I think because they are maybe not such a glamorous kind of attractive animal in terms of sort of their ranking and stuff like that, it was quite difficult to actually get people to come down and see them, especially compared to the bears. Now they are actually the top rated animal that we have in the zoo, so lots of people want to see them, lots of people are viewing them and doing things like that. Whereas this one, I ended up having to actually move the people in manually to get all of the screenshots and stuff, because nobody was coming, essentially, which is a bit of a sad one, but yeah, we got there in the end, and a little bit of cheating here and there, but we have been placing down lots of plants in here, so you can sort of see I have managed to get in the giant rhubarb. I love that plant. It is huge, and I don't think I've ever had the chance to use it so far, which, yeah, I thought this would be a perfect place in here. It gives a nice little shade, it's a nice sort of a covering plant, the animals can walk underneath it and stuff like that. And when we have some buffalo grass as usual, we also have some blue stems in here. I think we've got in some bracken as well, and things like that. And then obviously coming up to the trees, pretty much the standard trees that we're using throughout here. But that is now the habitat sort of all done, and we're going to move on here to the hard shelter. This one I wanted to kind of keep it a little bit smaller, so this is actually only a 3 meter high build instead of the sort of more traditional 4. I thought, and I kind of looked at it and thought, the 4 meters is quite big and it's quite kind of in your face, and you sort of know it's there as a building, where I wanted something a little bit more low profile in here. I knew that the keepers weren't going to be able to get in here, so it didn't really matter too much that they couldn't get in, and I just wanted a nice little area in here for the aardvark with a little bit of detail work coming through, but nothing too major in here. Right, whilst we're building this hard shelter, let's have some anteater facts for you. So the giant anteater is a medium-sized mammal that lives in the grasslands and forests of Central and Southern America. As the name suggests, the species feeds exclusively on ants and termites. They detect the ant colonies by smell before digging a hole in and using their long, sticky tongue. They may visit up to 200 nests a day and eat 30,000 insects. So they get through quite a bit. So yeah, they're quite big animals. I think I can safely say that now, having seen them in here. They have a very distinctive appearance with their long snouts that obviously they use for smelling the animal, the sort of ants and termites out, and then that conceals a even longer tongue. I'm not sure how far it compares to the giraffe. That's maybe something to look into. In there, they have small eyes and ears with large stocky limbs, and they have a coarse mane with a thick bushy tail. They have a very characteristic pattern that crosses their body with white front legs, a grey muzzle, and black stripes across their chest, throat and shoulders. They also have no teeth and have a very limited jaw movements, meaning that they can literally only just stick their tongue out of their mouths. I don't necessarily know why. I would imagine because they've got that obviously long snout that maybe like their jaw starts right back underneath, and that maybe limits their movements a little bit more. I don't know. Not something I've ever looked into. Anyway, they also dig large holes to access water, which then is used by other animals as well. So they are one of like the sort of main habitat builders for lots of other sort of animals living in the forests and grasslands that they live in. Obviously those holes can be used by absolutely anything, but obviously if they like a dried bed or something like that, then it could also be used as like a den or a sleeping area for other animals into there. Now we have worked on all of the outside and we are cladding on the inside. So for this one I want to do something a little bit different, and I have placed in some of these sort of large wooden planks, and I've just sort of run them all the way around, as you can sort of see here. And I felt like because the animals maybe like brush up against it, they could kind of damage them slightly, not necessarily on purpose but accidentally as they're moving around, shuffling, scratching. I feel like these are probably the perfect pieces because you can just take them out and you can just replace them if they are damaged. I think obviously that's in real life. In the game they don't really care about them. But I wanted to make a nice little detail in here for them, and we do have sort of these double doors here which leads into a fake staff area. I think is probably the best way to put it. It's a fake area in here which is just really for the staff members to kind of pretend to do bits and pieces rather than actually doing any of that. So I wanted to kind of create like what looks like 3 stalls in here. So we have different sort of gates in here that the animals can sort of access, and they're sort of individual stalls. So if they had to be separated from anything, if maybe they were like giving birth and they needed to be separated away, obviously the animals can like reach over the top and sort of touch each other and smell each other and do things like that. So it's not quite as restricted as some of them, but I wanted a nice kind of low level sort of stalls in here for them, where we can see each other and access each other. And then we are going to turn these in so that the animals can actually get into any of this in here. Now this is where I say, and a slight disclaimer from earlier, the animals can't actually access this at this point. I do come along and widen the entranceway, and I make it bigger and I make it more accessible to them, and then we also get in the water in here as well for them, which is one of the main points of why I really needed them to be able to access this. But I do think they can access some of the water in the moat, so if they don't come in here, it's not the end for them. They can access that as well. But yeah, putting in a few little scuff marks and a few little mud patches here and there, and then placing in some more enrichment pieces just to encourage them to come on in here, and then also adding a few more bits and pieces in here. I was kind of flitting all over the place when I was doing this, and I apologise for that. I was kind of trying to do everything in a rush. Doesn't really work. It ends up taking longer in there, but we do have a sort of drainage in here, so I thought maybe if like you could sweep up all of this down into the drainage and then it just washes away, and you just have to sort of flow some water through it and it would clear it all out in there and make it a little bit more hygienic and safer in there for you. But now we're going to work on the sort of keeper habitat side of this. So we're trying to get in some like shelving in here for if we're kind of doing like food prep and things like that. Obviously it is completely fake and you actually need to have the keeper building in here, but you know, I said last time I was trying to do a little bit more detail work in here, and that is what I'm just trying to do and get this through in here. Now I wanted to put a water bowl on there. There is a way to do it and I can't for the life of me figure it out how. In the end I went for this little it's one of the planter like flower pot bases, and it worked in there really well. Just sort of lowered that in and it kind of looks like a really shallow sort of dish for those sorts of things in there, which is in there. And then yeah, a few little water buckets and things like that in here. I didn't want to do too much, but I also wanted a little bit of detail work in here just to finish all of this off. And then we have another little enrichment piece. It's not actually tagged into the animals and they can't obviously access it, but I thought it's maybe something that they could use. So I figured it would be something we could easily get in here and just kind of pretend that they could use it. Maybe it's something that's just come out or something that's just about to go in. And then more trim and more sort of decoration pieces, and I've placed in a couple of different lights, but then I do go for my usual lighting in here as well, just sort of run a couple of those on as well, just to make this a nice sort of bright sort of area for them. And then getting in the plaster roof as per, and we do actually change the colour of this so that it is a little bit more in keeping with what I really wanted in here. I did think about putting in a skylight, but honestly they're actually really difficult to do. They're not difficult per se, they're a little bit tricky, and I kind of wanted to get this done quickly, so I figured why not just do it as a flat roof for now, and maybe sometime in the future we can get in some more skylights and lighting and things like that in for them. But this roof was looking a little bit bland as saying, so I ended up placing some of these pieces in around the edge. They're kind of like metal sort of trims that kind of just fit in around the edge here, and it works nicely to kind of just add that extra little detail. Normally I would use the bright white plaster pieces to kind of create a bit of a trim, but with this one I figured let's do something a little bit different, a little bit more in keeping. Maybe this is like a different kind of, maybe an older build, maybe it's been repurposed and things like that, because it is also a half sort of limestone, half wood. I felt like doing something a little bit different. But we are coming up to the end of this video, so if you have enjoyed it, then please give a big thumbs up and you can subscribe to my channel. And yeah, looking forward to getting some Planet Zoo content on here as well when I come back. Annoyingly, it comes out just before I go on holiday, so I'm not going to have time to play it before I go, but once I do, we'll definitely have content from that as well, so stay tuned for that. But I'll leave you with screenshots. Alright, bye everyone!